You're listening to Disrobing the Mosh Pit, a dissection of music and popular culture, with your hosts, Pete and Tom.
Welcome to episode 5 we are now with Disrobing the Mosh Pit. I'm Tom.
And I'm Pete.
How's it going, Pete?
Yeah, good thanks, Tom. Yourself?
Good week? Yeah, good, man. Good. You had a good one?
Yeah, well, just standard stuff. I'm not going to keep banging on about it, because there's not that mad interesting things.
It's pretty interesting being above the clouds every day.
Yeah. At times.
Yeah.
Interesting, yes.
Yeah, of course, bit of a bummer these days, what with some limitations around global travel, of course, but keeping it real on the domestic front there, which is good.
Yeah, we're super busy, actually, which has been quite good, actually.
Everyone's keen to get out and about.
Yep. How about you, Tom? What's been happening this week?
Not much. I just did the music for a show which is just opened here in Hawke's Bay called The Walk of Wonders. And if anyone, this will be out, well, it'll be over a long time over by the time this gets out. But if anyone did go and see it, then hopefully you enjoyed the music as well. And I had to basically, tonight was the opening night, and I spent the whole time basically going around apologising to the shop owners and the people manning the machinery, saying that sorry if the music gets so repetitive. I feel sorry for you having to stand there and listen to the same 15 minutes going over and over again.
I'm sure they love it, Tom. I'm sure they love it.
I must have looked like a bit of a dick actually going on and saying that. That's all right.
Sorry, everyone. Sorry.
That's what I do. Yeah. I'm so sorry. Yeah. So what do you want to talk about today, Pete?
Well, I thought we might talk about the music of ads.
Nice.
Yeah. There's some interesting topics, things to cover with the music of ads. Certainly it affects all of us at some point or other, and there's certainly ads that we remember, whether that be from our childhood or from now. And a lot of the reason why they're so memorable, aside from, what they're portraying in the ad itself, is the music behind it. And I thought someone of your expertise, Tom, would be able to lend quite a seasoned opinion and ear and some education.
Oh, too kind, sir.
Yeah.
Far too kind.
I thought I might put it out there.
Well, before we kick off, do you want to maybe talk a little bit about what you've been listening to lately?
Yeah, we were talking about this before, weren't we? So this week, nothing real new, but probably the last couple of things I've really listened to or revisiting really, is that band, The Living End. Really, really enjoy The Living End. And the Cybulus by, is it Peer Gynt?
Ooh.
It's called, there's a song that's like that flute and that starts, it reminds me a lot of like a sort of very English countryside morning.
Did you say it like Sibelius? Who is the
Sibelius?
Sibelius?
So dee 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 dee, that one.
Yeah.
You know the one? Yeah. It's like real dewy meadow in the morning type sort of sound.
A good getting up music.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, get up in the morning.
That song always runs through my head when I have, I don't mean to talk about drinking too much, but if I manage to do this whole Lazarus act thing of like going to bed if you've had too much to drink, and then you wake up without a hangover.
Is it?
And it's like joyous day, and the birds chirping outside, and I don't feel hungover.
Is Lazarus the one where he
dies
every day?
Wakes up again. Yeah.
His liver gets picked out by an eagle or something.
No, that is a Greek legend. I think that's like I think the Lazarus guy is like a biblical thing, right?
Is it?
Yeah, but I think that who's that guy? He gets chained to a rock and a vulture pecks his liver out every day.
Yeah, and then he wakes up reborn every day.
Yeah.
But chained to the same rock.
Yeah, they're creative, those Greeks.
They're really
super
creative and awful, that particular thing.
That's cool. I've been listening to a little bit of that band Mogwai.
Oh, yeah.
The Scottish group. A good friend of mine sort of got me into it. And there's an album called 000 that they brought out in 2020. And I didn't know at the time, but because things got sort of shifted around because of the COVID stuff, it was actually the soundtrack for the TV series 000. Have you seen it?
No.
It's real good.
What is it like on TVNZ or?
I think it's on Neon, and
Right.
it's like it's basically about an American family who their business is facilitating international kind of drug deals. They've got a shipping company.
Yep.
And there's just a very turbulent time for the industry.
Yes.
And so, it follows those guys' story. But basically, the album 000 by Mogwai, when I first heard it, I was like, man, this just sounds like a sort of an album of offcuts where each track is quite short, but each track sounds like a standalone film soundtrack kind of thing.
Mm.
Yeah, and I should have clicked that it actually was a soundtrack, but it's really, really cool.
Cool.
Just check it out if you get the chance. There's no sort of lyrics in there or singing. It's an instrumental album, but it's really good, man. 000.
Yeah. Is that sort of something that you'd listen to, if you went running or something, or you
it's kind
walking
of
through
more,
town, going to Paper Plus?
I think yes, but it colors things, So it kind of like, you listen to music when you're performing actions like walking or running and stuff like that, and it can sort of flavor your perspective a little bit.
Yeah.
This is it's got some melancholic parts. It's a bit sordid. Some of the,
Nice.
I don't know if that's kind of necessarily the right term to use for it, but it's
Sordid's good.
yeah. I mean yeah, but I don't know if I'd listen to it every day, but certainly background music for studying, that kind of thing. It's real good.
Do you ever listen to music when you study?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
me
quite a lot.
too.
Yeah.
What sort of music do you listen to when you study?
Almost always classical or jazz. Almost always music without lyrics, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's a little bit hard to focus when there are lyrics.
Do you find that if you listen to classical music and it's too full on, it's far too hard out, you can't really think? It's got to be quite almost like low level,
totally.
Like Chopin's, I find is quite good for that because it's just like the single piano, like in the background. It's that's quite nice. I quite like that.
But totally, man.
Like a Mozart sort of big opera or something would be quite a bit full on to try and think through.
Yeah. Just something super mellow and quiet in the background there. That's good. Yeah, I find that's cool, man. Well, so back to ads. What are your thoughts? What would you like to start with?
What I was thinking was, Tom, how do they use music in conjunction with the visuals and the acting to sell things? How does it help, do you think? Or how does it add to the entire picture of what they're trying to sell in an advertisement?
Yeah, well, we talked about in the first episode, about with music and films. Sorry, clearing their throat a lot. We talked about music and films and how the music can carry this narrative for a viewer. And I do think commercial composers capitalize on that quite a bit. You can make people feel a certain way, connected to certain products. You can, a lot of the time you'll hear commercial composers use bits of music that's kind of popular at the time. I remember hearing some ads that were kind of taking off the Stranger Things bass line and the arpeggiated and the Stranger Things soundtrack when that started getting real big. It's an epic soundtrack too, man. Like a real homage to the 80s. And I think you can use it to basically a commercial composer, I think, will look at what's popular right now and use that a lot.
Yeah.
And of course you can use certain musical phrases to convey this emotion that's kind of going along with the moving picture and that kind of stuff. I mean, I guess there's a few different levels of commercial composition. You've got the sort of really blatant in your face, Briscoe Geneva, better, boom, the kind of jingle kind of stuff.
Yeah. Where
it's just kind of, you might use the word tacky, but it's like super effective.
Like the warehouse. The warehouse.
Yeah,
everyone knows it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of like, the important thing about that is that they're getting their money's worth, because as soon as you hear bum, 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 yeah. It doesn't need to be the lyrics, because they're capitalizing on the rhythm and the melody and the lyrics to make it instantly recognizable. So you're sort of ticking quite a few boxes with regards to brand recognition there.
What do you think is more effective? Something that buries itself deep into your subconscious, like the warehouse or the Briscoe's ad, or something that's very topical of the moment? So when you're talking about Stranger Things just before, and obviously that was a very popular series, and do you think that would be more effective, Or do you think the jingle element would be more effective? Tacky jingle.
It depends what the brand's trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it's like a smaller brand, then probably the former. But if it's a bigger brand, if it's a bigger brand who's trying to long-term humanize their brand, then I think they're trying not to alienate listeners by doing music that will be annoying.
Is it more all-inclusive, do you think?
Yeah.
Less, more accessible?
More accessible, yeah. Because there's no denying that, 883, yeah. Is that Eagle Boys? Is that Pizza?
That's Pizza Hut, I think.
Pizza Hut?
But we know that.
Totally.
How well did that bury itself?
And they know that we hate it, but we know it. You know what I mean? Whereas someone like, Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, or McDonald's.
I think it was Eagle Boys. 0800 101 101. Or was that Pizza Haven?
That was Pizza Haven. Oh my God, I haven't thought of those guys in years. Oh my God.
Yeah, Pizza Haven.
One time it worked when I was walking back from town, and this was when Eagle Boys was in Balmoral, and they were open 24/7, and I ordered a pizza to be delivered, and I got a free ride home because I said,
the pizza delivery person?
At home. Yeah.
Did you eat your pizza in the car?
I called it. No, I didn't. But I called them while I was walking there and said, "Can I get this delivered?" And then when I got there, I was like, "Look, sorry, I ordered it, but my wallet's at home." And then they took me home.
Oh, that is so cheeky. It's like you got the free taxi and you got the pizza.
I was real close to asking him to stop outside the supermarket so I could get some
Can you go through the McDonald's drive-thru on your way home?
Imagine that, eh? Oh my God. I tried that with an Uber driver the other night. It did not work. He was not happy.
Really?
I was like, I'll give you 20 cash if you could just like take us through the drive-thru.
Is that a 1-star review right there?
He was like, nah, I'm not doing that. Sorry. Oh, man. He was like, get a taxi if you want that. And I was like, oh, no. Oh. I had to give him 5 stars for sticking up for himself. That's good.
Yeah, that is good, eh?
Yeah.
Very assertive.
Yeah, so I think that if it's a brand that's kind of after, you get a brand like Briscoes. I don't know if Briscoes are Australia and New Zealand, but I don't think they're out to make anyone miss their music.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Brands are trying all kinds of new things these days. Like before, we were talking about MasterCard. So that brings up this topic of sonic branding. But MasterCard have this boom, 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 boom. And they've spent so much money developing this sonic brand. Coke, Taste the Feeling, the McDonald's, I'm loving it, I'm loving it. You know, that's kind of like in theory, you should be able to hear a tiny part of that and instantly tell that it's them. But the beauty of having something that simple is that it can be interpreted musically in quite a few different ways. So what we're starting to see now is some of these bigger brands who can kind of afford it, getting commercial composers to create adaptations of that simple sonic brand. For example, MasterCard, who are one of those brands who, because what they do, because it's transactions, right? So it's very black and white what they do, MasterCard. It's not like it's an experience-based company.
It's very hard to sex it up.
Totally, yeah. It's a credit card company. So in an effort to sort of humanize their brand, it's like they understand the fact that their music now is them, that they've invested in. And so they had a story, an Instagram post recently where they had, I think there's a new thing that you can do where you can actually have printed on your credit card your pronouns. And so their sonic brand, bum 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 bum. They had this story on Instagram about this, I guess, like a trans guy who was like a cis female, and he'd transitioned, and he had, and he was talking about how this, you know, how good it felt putting his pronouns on his card, on his credit card, so he can get them out because presumably he's using his MasterCard all the time. And now he feels like it's kind of it's more representative of him. So they've got that music going, but it's like, you know, really cinematic and piano and really sort of emotional, like a kind of a soppy part in a film. So people are kind of connecting. Oh my God, MasterCard! Oh, you guys are so good. So it's kind of like humanizing the brand a little bit. I mean, it's a great initiative that they're supporting there, but it's kind of like at the same time they're getting everything they can from it with that music as well. So I think that there's this new school of doing it where it's kind of like there's the more localized kind of, I guess, jingle stuff. 183, 83, 83. And you might have people do little things like that. But I think it's becoming fewer and fewer
Yeah, actually, you're
brands
right.
that are doing that. Yeah.
I mean, I don't watch a lot of TV these days. Or no, I don't have terrestrial TV.
Well, that's a
is
good
probably-
reason why they shouldn't be. Yeah,
Yeah.
why they don't.
I suppose that was probably one of the one of the main mediums back in the day, that newspapers and radio.
Yeah.
So you'd probably have to come up with something that was relatively memorable. Whereas somewhere like nowadays where media is so super accessible, you're on your computer, you're on your phone, you're on your iPad, or, on any sort of streaming service, YouTube, like they bombard you with so many ads, and there's so many opportunities to get that into you. It's quite, dare I say it, invasive, really, isn't it?
Well, it's funny that you say invasive because, it's also highly targeted. So it's really deliberate that it's coming in front of you. But I don't know if you've watched normal TV recently. And this is super weird, man. But like I was in a hotel not that long ago and I watched normal TV and I almost felt offended that the ads weren't relevant to me.
Really?
Isn't that whack? Because
Yeah.
like you're so used to these personalized ads. And I was like, ironing boards.
Yeah.
This ad came up for something and I'm just like, I normally get ads about drum stuff or music production related stuff or Roland keyboards and random stuff like that. And for something to come up that's like like a
Very impersonal.
pot plants or something. What's just like a catch-all thing? I almost felt like it was a personal affront. That it was just like, oh my god, why am I being forced to watch this something that's so not relevant to me? I mean, I've skipped ads normally that are relevant to me, let alone ones that are irrelevant. So
It's funny that though, because
weird, eh?
do you think something like that though would have longevity? Like, I mean, like when I'm talking about when you're talking about Sonic branding before, and you talk about MasterCard and how they sort of use maybe a 4-note sort of jingle or 4-note sequence. Do you think that really has a lot of longevity? I suppose when you think of Coke or something like that, they probably do have a bit of longevity. But
yeah, I guess if they throw the right amount of money at it and they keep the repetition will keep just like they'll keep hammering it home and it will just become part of that brand's tone of voice, what they call the tone of voice. So I mean, taste the feeling it's happening. It's sort of relatively new, So it's kind of it's not new, but this whole adapting it regularly is kind of a new concept. But certainly there are lots of brands who there's this seems to constantly change. But have you heard of this like 5 points of marketing, 5 points of contact?
no.
So apparently, if you want someone to if you want to drive a message across to someone to a consumer, there needs to be at least 5 points of contact. That maybe they see it, your brand on the back of a bus, maybe they see it in an ad on TV, maybe they hear it on the radio, maybe a friend tells them about it. But if there's 5, then apparently kind of they're starting to get the point. You sort of work your way into their consciousness. But the thing about a Sonic brand is that it only relies on one sense. And often it's kind of subconscious. So if someone's listening to something, they might be listening in the background while they're talking to someone else, and it's kind of subconscious. But you can actually subliminally. Yeah, that was good.
That's nice. Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Subliminally have a point of contact with someone through a Sonic brand, and they might not be thinking about hearing it, but in the concept is like a good Sonic brand, someone should be able to hear like a very short amount of it, like 2 seconds.
Is that the measure of an ad's success, or the music of the ad success, if it really taps into your subconscious?
I think, yeah, the speed at which someone recognizes the brand based on the smallest amount of music would be the mark of success. But also, I mean, I think, how I was talking about personalized advertising? Well, I also feel like the reason this kind of Sonic branding has come about that needs to be adapted to meet certain demographics needs is another side of that. So if you are confronted with a sonic brand that is alienating to you in a style of music that you don't like, you almost feel kind of offended when there are so many that do sort of appeal to you. So I guess this flexibility, because it's so targeted, this flexibility to be able to target it more effectively, but keep that brand recognition going on, is just more and more becoming a really worthwhile asset for big brands. I think that let me think about this. What makes a successful one is one that I think most people will. It sounds silly, but I think most people will say they don't hate. You know, so not necessarily everyone loves it, but people will be like, oh yeah, yep, I kind of dig that. You know,
has it ever worked on you? The sort of the advertising, the music
for stuff.
Yeah, like where you've like been walking through town and then like, sort of like you've gone, oh, I remember that. The ad for Paper Plus, and I need to go in there and buy a magazine, or
I don't know. I don't know.
You've got to go and get, I don't know, cakes and desserts from the cheesecake shop. Cakes, I really feel like a cheesecake right now. Not a whole cheesecake, it's a bit excessive, but
I'll tell you what has worked on me, and that's when brands have engaged like established artists to use their tracks for stuff. Like I remember there was like an Apple ad. They had an Anderson .Paak song, and it had like, maybe FKA Twigs dancing on it. It's a really cool ad. And I sort of thought it was quite cool that they had engaged artists that I liked in the first place. Apple's a funny one, though. It's such a polarizing brand.
Extremely.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
There's an interesting article that I read recently which was saying where they sort of, somehow they must have used an MRI for measuring brainwaves. Was an MRI?
Yeah. That would work.
And so they were testing brain activity, people's responses to a brand. And they were kind of like, okay, so iPhone users, and they pretty much said whenever they talked about another Apple product, the Apple users, the iPhone users, it triggered these emotions in them, like they felt a real personal connection to the brand.
Wow.
And then they got Samsung phone users, and they talked about other Samsung products, and there was nothing. And then they talked about Apple products, and then it was like it started lighting up. So what they found was that people who bought iPhones love Apple products, and people bought Samsungs did so because they don't like Apple. Amazing, eh?
That is amazing.
So that's what I guess you get with like a polarizing brand like
totally.
that.
I mean, there's such a clearly defined line between the two camps, isn't there?
And I guess those guys have just been so successful where I feel like even if you don't like them, you feel like you have almost this relationship. I mean, that's a funny sort of term to use, but you almost feel like that brand is a person with their own feelings and that you just don't like them.
Do you feel like that about your iPhone?
I don't really like Apple that much, like I kind of have to use their computers and but I can't like bring myself to buy like an Apple Watch because it feels like I'm wearing like a cartoon on my wrist or something.
You're a fanboy.
Yeah, I'm not quite. My wife is. She definitely likes Apple stuff, but I'm kind of like,
this is not an advertisement for Apple, by the way. I'd just like to point that out.
Yeah.
Speaking of advertisements.
Yeah. I mean, the computers are good. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes I'm just like, when you get slapped in the face with the App Store stuff and, I'm just like, oh man.
They're quite rabid fanboys, eh?
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think you've been someone who's said to me before, tried to get me to get a non-Apple phone, eh?
I've put my foot in both camps all the time. I figure that you can't really know a product unless you try it and have a bit of a sample of both. And to be honest, there's merits to either. I mean, I'm not a technology expert, but certainly, it's good to have a bit of a crack at things, now and again.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So tell me, Tom, are there any ads that stick in your mind? Some of your favorites? Maybe something that's slightly iconic.
Favorite ads? Let me think. Stick in my head, no. I can remember heaps of them, man. Like,
Did they stick? Would you say that they stick into your head now?
I'll tell you what.
More or
one just came to my mind, and
Please.
I must have seen the ad when I was a tiny kid. But it goes, Mary Cherry Muffin. She looks good. She cooks good. She smells good too.
Oh yeah,
about a doll.
I do know that
right?
one.
Like,
yeah,
man. And so little things like that, where it's like the rhyming and the rhythm of it as well.
yeah.
And you just remember it for years, eh? For some reason, you just remember it for years. It is it him? Might be Mary Berry Muffin, Mary Berry or Cherry
Berry
or
Muffin.
Cherry Berry, Mary.
You definitely grew up in a house with girls, didn't you?
Absolutely.
There's nothing wrong with if you wanted Mary Cherry Muffin either, but you know, she smells good. Yeah, she looks good.
It's that and the music for Days of Our Lives.
Yeah.
And Emmerdale Farm.
There's this ad, and I've got it stuck in my head. Well, no, I haven't got it stuck in my head, but I can't remember what the ad is. But there's a line in it, and like the kid goes, "Unbelievable!" But I can't remember what the ad's for.
Oh man, yeah.
It will come to me after we've finished recording this podcast. I'll just add it as an insert. This is what this ad is.
No doubt. What about the old it takes two, baby. It takes two, baby.
Just me and you.
I know too. Yeah.
Yes.
So you were talking before about this legendary guy, right, in New Zealand who has written a whole bunch of those.
Yeah. So there was a video that accompanied a news article not that long ago, actually, that was written by a gentleman called Sam Harvey. And Sam Harvey is one half of the music group Computers Want Me Dead. However, that's aside. He wrote this article about this gentleman called Larry Killip. And Larry Killip has come up with a lot of the music for a lot of iconic ads from sort of the 80s, 90s, and even now, I suppose, are probably a lot of them still played now. For example, that the ad for Columbine hosiery, looking good, dancing, the Columbine. You know that one?
Looking fine, dancing. Yeah.
And cakes and desserts from the Cheesecake Shop. He did that one, and he did King's Plant Bun, everything you need. That one.
Man, did he do Dicker?
I don't know if he did Dicker.
Dicker, yeah.
That's a good one. I'm trying to think of that one. Beer ball. Is it? That's off Ferris Bueller, right there.
Yeah. It's an actual track. I can't remember. Yeah.
That's a good one. And the Skyline Garage, which I reckon is one of those songs that annoys the hell out of people. It annoys at me. You know, gotta get a garage, gotta get a cottage. Like, what does that mean? Gotta get a skyline.
Yeah, it seems to me that there seem to be ones that do this kind of very surface level. Okay, I'm going to slap you in the face with the product and make it rhyme and make it the rhythm of it kind of catchy melody. And then there are ones that sort of use more songy kind of interpretations to convey slightly different things. Like, what about that one that like people who eat trumpets are the luckiest people in the world? Did you remember that one? Because that used to make me so hungry, man. I was just like, because it was like only sexy people eat trumpets. What about that one?
Did you feel sexy when you?
As creamy as chocolate.
Did you say grievous chocolate?
No, I said creamiest.
Only
but then I said smoothiest at the start.
Flakiest chocolate.
The flake. It was the flake.
Yeah.
That real soft toned 80s, like that couple in like a field eating chocolate.
Was that a bit? Yeah, that's right.
Only the flakiest. I feel like the guy who sang that, because it was a guy, right?
I thought it was a woman.
Was it?
Yeah. Maybe he was doing a falsetto. Oh, maybe it was actually.
Yeah, well, it's kind of, I feel like he had monopolized the ads for a decade there in the 80s, eh?
Oh, yeah. Haven't like, this little man had a secret, but don't get caught.
Cream eggs.
Yes.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, see, they kind of went that next level because it's not like a jingle. It's like there's a story behind it.
Yeah.
Like, this is a forbidden fruit, like cream eggs. You know, I wonder how many people had this, because, you know, that ad, for those who don't remember it or have never seen it, it was of a boy in school who had a cheese cutter full of cream eggs in his desk, right?
It must have been bloody loaded back then.
Totally. And I was just like, that is just the height of indulgence a cap full of cream eggs.
Yes.
One cream egg will basically make you feel sick because they're so rich, but so epically nice. When those caramel ones came out, they were. Imagine if you had a whole hat full of cream eggs.
I've got a question for you. How the hell did he get into his desk?
Oh yeah,
because they were in his hat.
I think he had them sitting in there, and then he opened his desk and then offered one to a girl in class.
Yeah. Another thing that annoyed me about that is when the teacher comes over and pulls the desks, and I don't know how many of our listeners have sat at those desks that used to have the inkwell.
Old school.
The old school one. And he pulls it all the way back. And I'm sure that you couldn't do that with those desks. They slammed forward, towards you, but away from you. I was like, did you just break those? That's a bit violent, isn't it? Like, calm down, man. Like,
with some bespoke furniture specifically for the ad.
Yeah,
that's next level. It is really some good attention to detail.
It's a lot of money being spent on the cream.
A lot of money.
Do you remember the ad? I'm the polar pop bear, polar pop. I live in the snow.
Polar pop. Yeah, man. Wherever I go, rain or snow, the polar bears love my polar pop snow. Or was that the little kids love my polar pop so?
Yeah. Pop, 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 pop.
Isn't it insane how they made you just really want that thing?
I tell you, the one that made me want it so much was the Frosty Boy. Frosty boy, give me joy.
Hey,
start to tingle when you hear the happy jingle.
Oh my God. What about, ice cream trucks as well, man? Because it's synonymous with this treat that is kind of.
But why green sleeves?
Yeah. I've got no idea, but that is a question to Google.
That is a
Maybe
question.
I can Google that while you're talking about something else later on.
It's mildly creepy, don't you think? Like,
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of reminds you of the Timotei ad?
Timotei. Oh my God, this is going back. Timotei.
Made with herbs and spices.
And
that
jojoba.
one? Yeah. Jojoba. And honey.
Yeah. So many good ones, eh? Maybe it's a little bit of a lost art. That one with lyrics in particular. Well, maybe not with lyrics in particular, but these days,
See, the funny thing is that when you were talking about you being in the hotel earlier on, and they're trying to sell you pot plants, and you felt it wasn't very targeted at you, or you didn't feel. But like the ads, like I don't know, Polar Pop Bear or Frosty Boy, I felt were extremely targeted to me. And, it was back in the day, in the 80s with, it would have been obviously targeted at a certain age group. But, man, it stuck with me.
Yeah.
Like 30-odd years ago.
Isn't that insane?
Yeah.
And am I right in saying that in New Zealand it was illegal to advertise to children at certain times of day?
Possibly.
To put in ads that were, I've got a funny feeling that between like 3 and 4:30 p.m. they weren't allowed to. Some government in New Zealand made it illegal to, I may be wrong here, folks, but to advertise specifically.
Just go with it, Tom. Just
aiming
go
it. Yeah, I'm gonna own it.
Yeah, own it.
Aiming it at kids, which kind of makes sense, eh?
Yeah.
Because, it's kind of they're highly
uncorruptible
impressionable.
as a kid,
Yeah. Mom, I want to go get some Garbage Patch Kid cards.
Garbage Patch Kids.
Yeah, man.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Whoever that artist was that drew those, legendary.
Was it like, they were really like sort of Chucky, that movie Chucky?
Yeah.
The kind of esque, was it?
Ish, yeah.
Yeah.
It was a particular artist who did them, Garbage Patch Kids. Yeah, because bubblegum cards, those are a big thing of the past as well. Eh?
Yeah.
So basically, I think with ad music, pretty much what you will see, I think, is more local and national groups using the more vaguely, the more annoying kind of earwormish things, but a lot more, I said annoying, but more blatant. So they're just really in your face, like the Briscoes ad. That's totally shameless. Briscoes, you'll never buy better. Boom.
Yeah.
Totally shameless. Like no one's going to go and buy the album. But bigger brands, I think, are just a lot more subtle. A lot more subtle. But there is this new school of thinking with sonic branding where you might get someone like Apple going, oh yeah, we're going to use Justin Timberlake's Rock With You for this campaign, or we're going to use like a Lady Gaga song for this campaign. But I think what they're now starting to see is that maybe we should be paying someone who would normally produce for these guys to produce interpretations of a consistent sonic logo or sonic brand that can be interpreted in ways that reflect what's hot right now, what Justin Timberlake's doing right now, or Lady Gaga. But it's pricey, you know.
It's funny you should mention that, because the two ads that stuck out to me when I was a kid was one for the Air Force, and the one was like the sky's the limit. I don't know if that's oh, the sky is the limit. Oh, I want to be in it. That one. Have you ever seen that one? It's super 80s. Maybe want to join the Air Force, but it's real like glamorized the Air Force back then, and it was very Top Gun-esque. So I think I really played on that. That and there's an ad for Air New Zealand back in the 80s, and it was like, "'Cause you are the wind beneath my wings." That one. It's that Bette Midler Beaches song.
Man, I wonder how much they paid her for that.
Yeah.
That's what you call a synchronized payment, or a sync. Artists call them syncs sometimes. And where their band's not management, but the label that they're with will actively, I suppose, can put a song out for tender, or a brand will go through that label and say, "Can we pay a large clump of money to use this song for 6 months for this campaign?"
Oh, okay.
And that's kind of like a bit of a what do you call it? Like it's just a lot of artists are like, they would actively try to get syncs with their tracks, because it's just a big money earner for a little while.
I suppose you don't have to do anything. You've already written the music, haven't you?
Don't have to do anything. Hopefully you agree with the ethics of the brand.
Because honestly, if you listen to that one, that Wind Beneath My Wings, some of the lyrics that they're trying to squeeze in there is quite questionable.
Yeah,
we have to listen to it after this, because
totally. I was going to anyway. I do every night before I get to you know, we had this like student one time, and he was quite idealistic, and he was saying like, "Oh, I think music should be free. You know, I don't want anyone to have to pay for my music." And I was like, "Well, what if like ANZ want to use your song for their advertising?" And he was like, "Well, I think, you know, that same rule applies here." I'm like, "Come on, man. These guys are going to make lots of money from your song." A lot of artists learn that a little bit late, you know, the benefit of legitimately, you know, registering your work with a body like APRA and AMCOS is the Australasian one. And they basically, stuff goes through them. It's basically to protect artists, make sure they're getting paid when their songs are being played. And I guess when you're young, you don't really think of that. And
all you really care about is that your music gets out there and people listen to it.
People listen to it, yeah. But I guess, certainly that's those sort of sync payments. Like, speaking of ANZ, there was one where they used the Tikitane song that always in my mind for like a year and a half.
That was used on so many ads though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I myself am not in the industry, so I'm probably not going to get any sync payments.
You might. Yeah, you might. You never know.
We're digging up some old Tinder stick or something.
Well, yeah. Wasn't it like, who were the guys who? There's a Pulp Sport guys, eh? No, Jono and Ben, and they did that like "Show Us Your Crack." Then Nova, "Show Us Your Crack."
Oh yeah,
I'm pretty sure they wrote that from what I've heard.
Did they?
Yeah. Which is interesting, eh? I don't know. Basically, it's all about psychology, eh?
When I think about music from my past of advertisements, one that I was talking about earlier was, not on this podcast, but with Tom earlier, was the ad for Toyota. And this is back in the early 90s, I think. But it was the John Grinnell song, "Welcome to Our World." And it's a cover of, I can't remember who it actually was a cover of, but it's an American country artist. But anyway, the Toyota ad was "Welcome to Our World," and it had a lot of scenes, like sort of typical New Zealand scenes. If you haven't watched it, you should on YouTube. It's a great one. But that really hits me emotionally every
nostalgia,
time.
Eh?
Totally. Yeah, totally. And even back then, I thought it was beautiful. Not that I was at an age where I could go out and buy a Toyota, but it's still, even now, like I will totally think about that.
They go a long way in humanizing the brand and connecting with people.
It really did.
It's so powerful.
Mm.
Do you remember that old Police ad with like, he ain't heavy, he's my
Yes.
brother. Dun, 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 dun. And it had those cops carrying, or people carrying the guy in a stretcher out of the bush.
Yes.
Yeah, man, that was like full on, eh?
Yeah.
He ain't heavy, he's my brother for, yeah.
I remember that.
We're
Yeah,
gonna
totally.
Are we going to start crying? Like
I'm fully going to start crying.
Tear up, yeah.
How about the Air New Zealand ad with it's Kiri Te Kanawa, and it's the one where at the very end, like Temuera Morrison like does the voiceover, like, the world's greatest travellers. You know, that guy.
What, you nailed him.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Disney should hire you to do like clone voiceovers.
Air New Zealand, the
Yes,
airline
come
of the
to
world's greatest travellers. And it's the birds, the gannets, and they all come together and they form the kuru.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's right.
Do you remember that one?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like super emotional. There's a story about that one with my mother-in-law, and this is like back, obviously back in the day when computer animation was still quite a new thing. It was
Yeah.
probably like late 80s, early 90s.
Terminator 2 days. Yeah.
Very much so.
Hard up.
And my wife was telling me about a time where I think my mother-in-law saw that ad, and she's, the gannets come in and they make this kuru in the sky. She's like, wow, those clever birds.
It's awesome.
How did they train them to like make that shape in the sky?
Oh man, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, do you think maybe we should talk a little bit about this drop that we're drinking?
What we're drinking
right
this
now?
evening?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, Tom.
It's a few tasting notes. So we've actually tried a drop from the same brewery before.
Yep.
It's the Iron Pot beer. It's a local one here in Hawke's Bay, which is great.
Absolutely.
What can you
great.
tell us about it, Pete?
Well, Iron Pot beer, we tried the APA last time. It was fantastic. We're trying this time tonight their lager, and also very fantastic. Nice and clean and crisp. It's brewed in Aotearoa, through a sort of, I wouldn't say a bespoke, but small batch sort of brewery, by just a group of guys, schoolmates, and they do a really, really good job. 100% behind it.
Yeah, I kind of feel like sometimes I get a little bit tired with craft beers and the hoppiness and I get a little bit fatigued, I guess. The taste buds do. And this sort of lager sort of finds that balance quite well. Like it's got a little bit of the fruitiness and hoppiness that you don't really get too much in other lagers.
No.
Certainly not commercial ones. But it's like as drinkable as those other ones.
I find it quite buttery almost. Do you get that?
Yeah, buttery. Yeah, that's
like
good.
Buttery yet crisp.
Yeah.
Yeah. And lagers are very difficult to brew, or harder to brew, funnily enough.
Well, I've certainly never nailed it, yeah.
Well, neither. My last lager that I brewed, because I do a little bit of garage brewing, tasted terrible. Yeah, I went a bit too NATO on the temperature, and it got a bit too hot. I think it tasted a bit banana-y. I don't know if banana is a note that you really want in your
Maybe
beers.
if you're eating curry, man. My grandpa used to put bananas in curry, eh?
Have you ever had that, like, banana? It's an accompaniment to spicy food. I think you get it like with it in Indonesian sort of dishes.
Oh, really?
It's the banana that's like rolled in desiccated coconut.
Nah.
Have you not had that?
Nah.
It's really good.
Nah.
Or
Oh,
deep
man.
fried bananas.
Well, my grandpa Monty used to do it, and he used to swear by it because it like sweetened like a lamb curry.
Yeah. Was that why they put like the sort of old school sort of like a?
It's a British thing.
Yeah,
right?
British. They used
Yeah.
to put like raisins.
Yeah,
in there,
he
or
put
sultanas.
raisins in it too. And when I was a kid, I used to be like gross, but then my dad's made them since, and I'm like, man, this is real good.
Really?
Really, really good. Yeah.
The bananas or the curry or both?
Kind of both. The bananas or the raisins. Well, I mean, the I don't think he's put raisins in them, but like he's put bananas in them, and I'm like, damn, this is good, man.
Yeah.
Like it tastes good. Yeah, just for a little bit of sweetness.
Nice. So, in summary, there, it's a lovely, lovely lager. If you haven't had a chance to try Iron Pot beer, you should. They're at the farmers market on a Sunday morning if you live in Hawke's Bay. Really, really good.
Friendly
well worth
lads.
your time.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so back to this. So I feel like we should probably sum this up a little
Yeah,
bit.
absolutely.
Well, when it comes to advertising and music, I think what we've music and advertising, what we've come to is that there are different layers, right? It seems to be an ever-changing sphere, if you will, like where it used to be a certain way with jingles, and I don't know if I think it used to rely heavily on lyrics, and these days I just don't think it does rely heavily on lyrics.
You're talking about sonic branding. It's not necessarily about lyrics at all, eh? Although you did show me something quite interesting earlier about how Coke changed their branding because their last jingle was not really that singable naturally.
Yeah.
Even
it wasn't even the jingle. It was like literally dun dun. Oh no, Coke. Yeah, taste the feeling. Da, 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 dum. Like I don't know what the previous one was like, but evidently they invested a lot in changing it up so that it was simplified. Boom, ba 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 boom, and I think what they're going for is not the whole. This is what the words mean, but more like this melody. We want you to know that this is Coke, dum ba bum ba bum. We don't even need the lyrics there. We can just have because that gives us that much more freedom with ways to use it.
You're right when you're talking about there's a real paradigm shift between how they target, how they work the music and the advertisement now, eh?
Yeah. And we were talking before about the fact that when we do certain activities like running or studying, it's kind of challenging having lyrics in there. It's challenging to focus on something else while there are lyrics in there, and I think they've cottoned onto that, and they're trying to get the best of both worlds.
But I was talking about before how you were quite offended, how the advertising
lightly offended. Well, I was surprisingly
offended.
I was just like, oh man, what is this shit? Oh my god!
You threw the remote at the TV, didn't you?
Yeah, because it was just noise.
It
was just noise to me. Because the other thing is that with targeted ads, normally they're music that I would kind of like as well, because it's music that's kind of designed to go with the certain people that would buy the products that I would probably kind of buy, and then you got something blaring at you to get these pop, gardening supplies,
which is not a bad thing, though.
Not a bad thing, yeah. But it's kind of, it might be more targeted for hard of hearing people, or
so. This is I'm more of the opposite opinion. I'm rather offended when ads are targeted to me because I feel slightly invaded.
Yeah, I realize I'm in the minority there.
Yeah. Well, you're probably like, the Apple and Android camp. We're probably like, there's probably quite a definitive mark between the two. But yeah, sure. When things pop up on the computer or something like that, and it's quite plainly targeted at you, or it's of your search history or your, I don't know, what you've been looking at on the internet or on YouTube or whatever, and it's quite plainly targeted at you. It's quite disconcerting, actually. It's like, man, I am being fully watched here. Eh? Totally. Not that I'm a conspiracy theorist. I don't wear a tinfoil hat around, but
I mean, like sometimes it's quite a coincidence. You'll be talking about it with someone, and then you'll get smashed with these ads for that thing. Like, you'll be talking about going camping, and then you'll get like tent ads. And stuff.
Yeah. Like, how the hell did they know about that?
Yeah, you're sort of like,
we come from a more innocent time, Tom.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I guess like it's constantly changing, and it's a fascinating thing to be aware of when you're getting hit with ads like that. And I guess just like watch this space with the whole thing, but keep an ear. I think like maybe it might be a good thing for us all to be aware of, maybe a little bit more aware of when we're being targeted with music.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Whether or not we choose to be offended by that, but like the sonic branding thing is kind of like I think what we'll see more and more is people starting to go, oh man, well, ad music is pretty good these days. Like I'm really loving a lot of the music on ads, specifically because targeted ads are using music that will obviously appeal to them more. So it's not a matter of music becoming more likable for them, more appealing for them. It's just a matter of ads becoming way more targeted and just way.
Would you put any music from an ad on your Spotify playlist? Like, because how it makes you, like, I'm so uplifted by this. Therefore, I must create a playlist. Tom's advertisement music advertisement music playlist. I'm going to listen to it while I'm running.
I only probably wouldn't because of the length of it.
Too short?
Too short.
What if you just put it on repeat?
Too short. Repeat. Yeah, no, I probably would. No, I wouldn't because of the length of it.
Yeah.
But I definitely do hold it up there. Some ads. It's super rare, man, but like probably in the same kind of vein as film music that I kind of really like as well.
I'm like that. I would totally. I wouldn't necessarily go so far as to create a playlist potentially, but certainly add it to a playlist.
Yeah.
Yeah. If there's something like, if you've heard an ad and you love the music on it, I would totally add it.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
I'm a real consumer. I'm a consumer.
I think any of us who say otherwise about ourselves would be being naive.
Don't kid yourself.
I think we're all kind of suckers in a way, but you know, at least we're not getting slammed so much with ads that are just like totally irrelevant. So yeah, I guess you can choose to feel alienated or not, but either way, I think they're going to work their way into our subconscious somehow.
The fabric of your life, my
Absolutely, friend. Yeah. Oh, should we call it there, Pete?
Absolutely, Tom.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Good talking to you again.
You too, man. Catch you next time.
Till next time. See you later, folks.